Ukraine has unleashed British Storm Shadow and American ATACMS long-range missiles on Russia. Russia is now furious and has unleashed its intercontinental missile at Ukraine. Our next story analyzes how the combination of stealth and the increased range of these attacks marks a new phase in the conflict.
In a bold escalation of military strategy, Ukraine unleashes a sophisticated dual missile assault combining British Storm Shadow cruise missiles and American ATACMS. By launching British Storm Shadow cruise missiles into Russia's Kursk region immediately following the American ATACMS strike in Bryansk, Ukraine demonstrates a new level of strategic escalation. The Storm Shadow, an air-launched cruise missile with a range of over 500 kilometers, is known for its precision and stealth. Its targets include bunkers, bridges and supply depots, making it a game-changer in long-range warfare. On the other hand, ATACMS, launched from HIMARS systems, offers a 300-kilometer strike capability and deploys devastating cluster munitions. Together, these weapons complement each other, creating a deadly mix of strategic and tactical firepower.
Storm Shadows have a slightly longer range, but the reality is that Ukraine needs quantity rather than quality, or even range. The range of both missiles is enough to get behind Russian lines and into Russian infrastructure targets, so that will cut off their supplies to their front line. So the actual range of each missile is not as significant as the fact that Ukraine needs them in great quantity and very fast indeed.
Russia claims to have intercepted several of these missiles, but admits their targets were still hit. American officials contradict Moscow, stating these missiles were highly successful in neutralizing high-value Russian assets. The attacks have forced Russia to reassess its defense strategy, as the missiles target areas previously thought secure.
When you use ATACMS, you're only firing one. But what you are firing is a ballistic missile. It's a small one, but it has essentially, in layperson's term, it's a bigger bang. It's also coming down at as it's a ballistic missile, a difficult angle and at very high speed. And it is also precision guided. So the advantage you have is that it's got a much longer range.
President Biden's policy shift comes at a critical moment, potentially leveraging Ukraine's military capabilities before changes in the US leadership. With Donald Trump's return to the White House raising uncertainty about future support, Biden appears determined to strengthen Ukraine's negotiating position. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
For more on this, we have with us Ben Aris, founder and editor-in-chief of BNE IntelliNews, and also former Moscow bureau chief for the Daily Telegraph. He's joining us live from Berlin. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on WION. Russia has fired in what is the first ever use of an ICBM in a war by any country. The West says that this is reckless. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's slightly confusing in so much as neither of these missiles, neither the French-British Storm Shadow nor the American ATACMS are actually ICBMs, intercontinental. That means ICBMs have a range of around 5,000 kilometers, and the two missiles, the American one is about 350 kilometers, and the Storm Shadow is about 500. So that's a bit of an exaggeration. Nevertheless, these missiles are a significant escalation, and they give Ukraine, add to its arsenal, extremely powerful missiles that can reach deep into Russia. 300, 500 kilometers is enough to get behind Russian lines and play havoc with the logistics that are supplying the Russian forces on the front line, and will push all of Russia's armor and fuel depots, what have you, much further back. And it's already having a logistical problem supplying the front lines on what are increasingly long supply routes. And that will give Ukraine a lot of help. It'll ease the pressure that it's feeling in Donbass. It will help support the embattled troops or Ukrainian troops who are in the Kursk region, who are coming under increasing pressure. And so, yes, the Russians are taking this as a significant escalation. And for them, the key point here is because both of these missiles need satellite data, American supplied satellite data, Ukrainians don't have any satellite that can do this. They are in effect operated by NATO operators. And Putin said very clearly that NATO-guided missiles are striking Russian territory, and he threatened to take appropriate action, so he says. And of course, as you probably realized, they updated the nuclear use strategy, missile strategy, which is very clear threats, that this could go to Third World War. If Russia's attacked directly by NATO, we could respond, and they're rattling their nuclear saber as a result.
And ICBMs are nuclear-capable missiles. Do you think that now the risk of miscalculation in the Russia-Ukraine war is more than ever, considering the fact that we're sort of in the talk of nuclear war, possibly?
Well, indeed. I mean, the Kremlin's been going on about it all week. They were very unhappy about the F-16 able. I mean, you could put nuclear missiles on the F-16s. I think the better way to see it is that what we're seeing is a creeping escalation towards the Third World War, to a direct conflict between Russia and NATO. And all of these innovations, these changes, these new weapons that keep getting introduced take us closer and closer to that line. I mean, it's been described as red lines that keep getting crossed. One would have thought that Ukraine's invasion of Russia, which is what it was, the first since the Second World War, would be a red line that might push the Kremlin over the top, but it hasn't. It's continued. But then now we've got these powerful ballistic tactical ballistic missiles is one step closer to that red line. I don't think we're on the edge of Third World War, but we are creeping towards it slowly. And the amount of room left before we reach that point, before Russia really does say, look, we are, and Biden and his policies have been to keep pushing up against the line, but very reluctantly. Zelensky's been calling for the permission to use these.
Ben, thank you so much for all of those comments and analysis. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.